So Ellisen is a Naliachi. She comes from the most distant planet in the system called Naliachi.
So Ellison is a monk who was sort of exiled from her home world and has traveled all the way across the system to get to Ladassa and meet up with her new friends.
She's PJ's bestie, of course. Every member of the party is PJ's best friend. But Ellison was his best friend first.
She's also nicest friend, I think. Yes, we're friends.
She's feline-like, but for the love of God, don't call her a cat. She's not a cat. She's a Naliachi. They're distinct, separate things.
She is a feline Naliachi, and again, something that Milo's never seen before, has never met one in person, obviously, so definitely a bit of wonder meeting that person and adventuring with them.
As a Naliachi, she is often offended by people calling her a cat or saying that she's cat-like.
Ellisen is a cat person, but you're not supposed to call her cat.
She's a cat.
But she looks a lot like a cat.
I think when Mo looks at Ellison, he does see a cat. Like, there's the paws, there's the ears, there's the way that she moves her nose, wiggles the whiskers, flicks her ear, the tail that's constantly just moving behind, or importantly, hooked while she's walking around the city because she's interested in things. Like, all these things that Mo sees, he can't separate the speciesism from what he experiences. And so Mo sees a cat.
She is very excitable and naive, but she means well.
Ellisen is definitely like the fish out of water part of this group. She has very recently left a very sheltered life and is just exposed to the world very unexpectedly and is trying to take it all in all at once.
I think it's a good character to interact with Milo, because I think both of them kind of feel like outsiders at times, kind of being new, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for a lot of things they encounter.
And Ellison's a really interesting character because she started off being very pro-Empire, not strongly, but just thinking that they're there to help, and she's quickly becoming disillusioned of that notion.
I feel like her naivety is really fun, especially juxtaposed against Mo's character, who has kind of been there, seen it all, done it all, and is now like dealing with the consequences of his actions.
So, my perspective on the Empire, I'm not much of a rule follower to begin with. I don't like. On my jug, on my water jug that I bring to school, maybe I shouldn't, but on it says break fake rules, because most of the time rules they're constructed. They're constructed things that all people agree on. So with my perspective on the Empire, I don't like it. So when Ellison is talking about the Empire, was defending the Empire, me, the player Preston, I'm thinking like, Ellison, why do you think an empire that controls multiple systems is necessarily going to be a good guy? That you have hoppers, you have yet to meet any of the diplomats, you have yet to meet any politicians, you have yet to meet anybody who's necessarily doing good. And then on top of that, anybody around you is not doing very well. So that gives me pause with Ellison.
No pun intended.
Yeah, that was funny.
Ellison also has a childhood best friend, Kiyasha, who is a member of the rebellion and has kind of steered Ellison towards that.
So Ellison and Nice have a mutual friend. His name is Kiyasha, and Kiyasha came to me one day and asked me to go and meet up with Ellison and her group because it seemed like they needed some help, and it also seemed like they were candidates to join the rebellion. Nice gave Ellison her rebellion badge as a way to show her trust to Ellison and say, hey, we're on the same side. I know that we believe in the same
cause.
She was raised in a very secluded monk order on her planet, where they were very traditionalist in their beliefs, and so no outside technology, and really very few outsiders in general. And so when she left, it was just this sudden wall of technology, which she's excited by, but very much confused by, but she's doing her best.
She's also one of the, non-mean people that Milo runs into typically, so they're very nice to have her around.
Ellisen ended up leaving her monk order, partially her own choice to leave, but partially not. She's always been fascinated by technology and the ways in which it is changing the world. And so she became sort of enamored with this idea of genetically modified seeds, things that would help her order feed more of their own people, but also be able to feed more people outside, those who were in need. But unfortunately, her order has very, very strict rules about what is and is not allowed, and they immediately became terrified that these modified seeds that she planted in her own little plot had somehow ruined everything that they had worked for generations. And so she was cold-shouldered her way out of the order. So she made the decision to leave, but it was because no one had spoken to her for a year before she finally decided it was time to make her way in a world that was going to be more welcoming to her.
She's pretty inexperienced in combat, but she's also very well trained and dexterous.
Mo does see Ellisen as a capable warrior. Naive, but capable.
Ellisen, while she is capable of doing a lot of damage, she does non-lethal damage, and she's really not kind of mentally in the place to be able to use her full potential in that way.
Able to do violence, just not knowing that she can necessarily do violence yet. Because Mo gets it. Mo understands coming from a background where he was a kid, but being raised in violence, having to deal with the consequence of violence as a child, and then developing into someone who can enact the violence on the world. He understands what Ellisen is having to go through because he went through it as a child.
So I feel like poor baby Ellisen is going to learn some hard truths about the world that she's in. And, PJ will be there to comfort her along the way.
Mo's perspective on Ellisen is one of there's a sensitivity to it. There's a feeling of, without Mo necessarily recognizing it or it being conscious, there's a feeling of desperation for Ellisen to be the peaceful person she is, even though she must lose that peaceful side of her because she's in a place that is not going to, that her peacefulness, her want to not harm is going to at some point have a consequence, have a wall that she's going to butt up against.
Ellisen's major flaw is that she is significantly too curious, and she has had to stop herself from pushing buttons many a time, but we will have to see how long before she definitely presses a button she shouldn't press.
Has Ellisen ever heard the phrase "curiosity kills the cat"?
Ellisen has never heard the phrase "curiosity killed the cat," and if she did hear it, she would take it as a personal challenge.